Hi friends, this is Ray from Honey Top Bees. I've been teaching beginner bee classes for a while. I teach at my location. I also teach for a local technical college, a class on beginning beekeeping for a personal enrichment course. And I have noticed that the attitude that new beekeepers take toward beekeeping when they get started makes a real big difference. And so I've been wanting to do this talk for a while, or I should say maybe make this video. I've been wanting to make it for a while because I've learned that if you have the right attitude in approaching beekeeping, you probably will be more successful than if you have the wrong attitude. And so I've kind of taken a lot of my thoughts and put it into 4 attitudes, 2 negative attitudes that we want to stay away from, and 2 positive attitudes that I find leads to a greater success. So I hope you'll join me. I'm going to bottle some honey and kind of talk to you about this all at the same time today. So I hope you'll join me and stick around for this video as I do today. And just a little side note, yes, this is a beekeeping channel. But I've learned in my own life that these wrong attitudes also lead to demise with other life things, and these positive attitudes can also really be helpful as we approach other subjects in life as well. So these can be applied to other areas. They certainly have for me. I'll just leave it at that.
Coming up.
This is my least favorite part. I am waiting for my honey to warm up. I'm at 68 degrees. It's kind of a colder winter day today, so I can't start bottling my honey till it gets a little warmer because it just comes out way too slow for my patience level. So let's jump in and talk about some of these attitudes. I am a pastor, so I write a lot of messages. And it just happened today that the attitudes that I want to talk about when approaching beekeeping as a new beekeeper all start with the letter C. And so we're going to kind of hit it from that direction while I wait for my honey tank here to warm up for me today. The first attitude that I want to talk about a little bit is about a cavalier attitude. I see some beekeepers that take my beekeeping class, or any beekeeping class for that matter, and they watch a couple of YouTube videos and they feel like they've got a little corner on the market, and they kind of head into it with a little bit of cavalier attitude. By this I mean maybe just an overconfidence of their ability to keep bees right from the start. Maybe sometimes I even see some beekeepers that approach it like, oh, I got this. I know other people struggle with, you know, the different aspects of the learning curve of beekeeping, but not me. I've got this. I'm above that. And some of the problems that they have, I've watched some YouTube videos and I'm good. And this is not a slam on YouTube. I mean, here I am on YouTube myself. I've learned a lot from different quality providers on YouTube myself. And it's not a slam on beekeeping classes. They are a really good foundation that we all need. But I think sometimes we can disrespect the amount of research and knowledge and experience that beekeepers have had for, the last hundreds of years. And we can kind of miss and disrespect that. There's a steep learning curve toward beekeeping. And honestly, the longer I've been beekeeping, the more I realize, boy, there's still so much more that I don't know. I've studied. I'm part of the University of Florida Master Beekeeper program. I have learned. I've been beekeeping since a child. I started with as a child at the feet of my father, who was a successful beekeeper in New England. But when I started beekeeping myself, the varroa mite had come into the United States. That changed. Regional aspects of beekeeping can make a difference as well. Maybe you were successful like I was with my dad, that is, keeping him in one part of the country, and I came down to the southeast region of the United States and realized, wow, there's a lot of differences down here. I mean, there's this whole thing called the summer dearth down here. We never had that when I kept bees with my dad in Vermont, and I had to learn how to navigate that. And honestly, I think when I started beekeeping myself, even though my dad was still alive at that point and was helping me, I think maybe I did have this attitude, and I don't think it really led to me being successful in my early years. I think I probably had a little bit of overconfidence based on my experience of keeping bees with my dad in a different time, in a different region, in a different era. So I know about this personally. I'm not I'm not telling you this because I'm better than it myself, because that in itself would probably be a cavalier attitude. But I see people in my beekeeping class, and some of them start with a little bit of overconfidence, or even a denial that, you know, some of the things that happen to other beekeepers will happen to them. And so they kind of approach it like, well, I know other people talk about swarming, or I know other people talk about absconding or colony collapse disorder or whatever, but I'm gonna be okay, and I'm gonna, you know, my colonies aren't gonna get mites or small hive beetles or whatever. And there's kind of an overconfidence. And one of the things I've learned about beekeeping is that the bees will humble you. They really will. They are going to do what they're going to do, and there's nothing we can do about that. I think approaching beekeeping with some respect of the experience of other people, and then the tremendous amount of knowledge. Somebody had determined that the honeybee is perhaps the most researched living thing apart from the human being on the face of the earth, because they're so vital. They have been so vital, along with other pollinators, to our whole food chain. And so there's a tremendous amount of research, good quality research, that is out there that we can get our hands on now through the internet. And I think that should kind of cause us to be able to take a little bit more humble approach when we see the volume of work that scientists and respected beekeepers and experienced beekeepers are doing out there. I know I have been so blessed to be able to learn from other beekeepers, both locally here and then over the internet from some of the people that are very experienced in this field. And when you find quality people, follow them, subscribe to them, learn from them. You're not gonna be able to implement everything that they do. Beekeeping in, you know, Michigan or Indiana or Ohio is gonna be a lot different than beekeeping where I'm at in South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and the southeast region of the United States. And that's gonna be different from, you know, Montana or Quebec or different parts of the country. But you can pick up little things from other experienced beekeepers that will really help you to be more successful. So I guess the first thing I want to say is be careful about the cavalier attitude. The next attitude that also starts with the letter C, and actually, I'm sorry, I don't know if this is going to be C backward on your screen or if this is going to be the right one. I don't know, I'll do them both. The next attitude I want to talk about is the cowardice. Cowardice. There's can be an aspect of getting started in beekeeping where you almost can get, I've said this before on my channel, you can get paralysis by analysis, because sometimes there is so much information out there. And when you open up your beehive, there's all of these choices that I have to make. You know, do I crush that queen cell? Do I leave that queen cell? Do I split? Has the queen already left? I can't find the queen. What do I do? Is this hive overcrowded? Do I need to add another box? Do I need to do something to get them to draw out? Like, there's all of these things, and it can become so overwhelming that I see some beekeepers are just paralyzed by the fact that I don't know enough to be able to make a decision. And so this attitude can also kind of hold you back in your beekeeping. Beekeeping is a process of learning and growing, in my experience. And that process means that you make some decisions and you try some things and you see if they work. Here's something that I've kind of learned with beekeeping. Bees are more forgiving than maybe we give them credit to be. Sometimes you can get things not exactly right. Maybe they're not exactly wrong, your decision making, but they're also maybe not exactly right. But in most cases, maybe with the exception of varroa mite, in most cases, the bees are pretty forgiving and they're pretty patient as well. You don't have to go out and, you know, add a super on a particular day if you feel like it's getting overcrowded, or pull a super off in the winter for space. Like, they're forgiving, you know, they're not going to overreact to your management as much as.
Hi, this is Ray. When you hit like, subscribe, or leave a comment, it really helps me to build my channel. So thank you so much.
You might think that they will. And so don't be paralyzed, or don't be afraid or cowardly to be able to make some decisions and try some things. That's part of the process. And here's the kicker. When you are successful and you make a decision and it works, that's one of the great joys of beekeeping. I read somewhere recently, again, I wish I could give credit, but I don't know where I read it, but the real honey is in the learning, is in the process of learning, in the process of growing. Like, that's the real sweet spot in beekeeping. And so when you try something and you requeen a hive, or maybe you graft a queen for your first time, like those things are just, there's a lot of joy in there, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. The bees will be forgiving to a certain extent, and don't be paralyzed by the amount of information that's out there to where when you go in your hive, you're afraid. One thing that I find new beekeepers are often afraid to do is to test for varroa mites. Now, I've made a whole video on this because I find it to be a problem with new beekeepers. And that video is called Bad Varroa Mite Practices. And the whole idea behind that is don't be afraid to test your bees. The alcohol wash is still the most reliable way of testing your bees. You can use the powdered sugar shake. I even ran into a beekeeper at my bee club meeting recently that's using oxalic acid vapor as a way of testing for mites by putting 300 bees into a mason jar and giving them like a gram of oxalic acid vapor, and it doesn't kill the bees, and the mites drop off of them pretty soon. I haven't tried it, but I'm gonna try it this spring. But don't be afraid. Get in your hive. One of the things I tell new beekeepers too is, start with 2 hives if you can afford it. But if you can start with 2 hives that are kind of like your main hives, and then also have a nuke as a resource hive in case something goes wrong, but also have a nuke for learning, testing, trying new things. Maybe you watch something or read a book and you want to go in your hive and you don't want to be disturbing your main hive all the time. Let that nuke be kind of like your learning center, and so that you don't have to disturb your regular hives any more than is absolutely necessary. So another attitude that I would say, kind of holds beekeepers back is not the cavalier, but really the exact opposite of the cavalier attitude, and that is the attitude of cowardice. So what are some positive attitudes that we can kind of take? Well, one of them would be circumspect. It means to be deliberate yet cautious. And I think that that's really good, especially if you're getting started or you're a first or second year beekeeper. Deliberate but yet cautious. Get in your hives, try things, make sure you're treating, make sure you're observing, learn how to find the queen, learn how to mark your queen, be deliberate, try some new things, don't be afraid, but also be cautious. So cautious yet deliberate. I like that phrase because I feel like that's a really great way to approach beekeeping as you are a brand new beekeeper. And then I think the second C that would be a positive thing that you should do with your beekeeping is this. Get a coach. Get a coach. We often call them mentors in beekeeping, but coaching works as well. You know why coaching works? Because it starts with the letter C. Sorry about that. Yeah, get a coach. Get somebody that can kind of help you, that can come by and visit your apiary. Now, we offer at Honeytop Bees, I offer mentoring. And you can sign up on my website for a year, and I will be there to look at your videos, look at your pictures, answer your texts, etc. And for some of you, I may be a decent mentor for. But if you're in other parts of the country, it's better to find a local mentor. So I do provide mentoring, but my first encouragement would be not to sign up with me for mentoring. My first encouragement would be to find a local mentor. Find somebody from your own bee club, your own region, somebody with a little bit more experience. And a lot of bee clubs will offer mentoring programs for you. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of that, but find somebody that can kind of help you walk through, especially your first year or 2 years of beekeeping, to walk through that coach. I like to illustrate it like this, and I may do another video on this at some point, but there's a reason why driving classes are still offered today. Even though we have YouTube, even though we have books on driving, and you can learn how to parallel park on a YouTube video, and you can learn driving lessons on YouTube videos, there's a reason why we still have people that get in the car next to you and take you on driving lessons. Maybe you just did it with your mom or your dad. I hope that went well, by the way. Or maybe you used a paid service with somebody that taught you how to drive. There's a reason why we still have that, despite the fact that we still have the internet. And that is the hands-on learning, having somebody to sit there right beside you and to tell you how to apply the knowledge, And in my illustration of driving, how to apply the brakes, and when to apply the brakes, and when to hit the gas pedal, and did you remember to put your blinker on? Because you can know about the blinker and you can know about the brakes, but having somebody there that says you better slow down, you're getting too close, you're following, etc. That having somebody there to coach you is just really, really vital to your beekeeping experience as well, just like having a driving coach can help you. And then after a while, you get to a place where experience starts to take over with your driving, and it's the same way with beekeeping. Like I said, I might make another video on that sometime, I'm not really sure. Thanks for joining me today. Guess what? I didn't get my honey bottled yet. I'm about to do it now. Maybe I'll stick a couple, see, I'm up to 83 degrees. I like to try to get up to 100 before I start bottling. But thanks for joining me today. I hope this will kind of help you if you're a new beekeeper and you're approaching beekeeping this year to kind of think about how I'm going to approach it. It's not so much a technical video on how to do this and how to do that, but as much as just an attitude of what's inside of you. This is my least favorite part.
Hi, this is Ray. When you hit like, subscribe, or leave a comment, it really helps me to build my channel. So thank you so much.